Hey, it's Chris with Picks and Sticks Music Studio. And if you're new to this channel, we're an all things music channel and we like to support our local artists and bands. And tonight we're interviewing Slay Positive. This is episode number 32. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and smash that like button. That helps promote the bands. It brings more views to the interviews and they get more recognition. Um, so I'm very excited about this interview, and let's bring in um, Slay Positive here. I want to unmute him and bring him in. Hey man,
Hello.
how you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Good. Hey everybody, Scott's going to be a little late tonight moderating, but as always, you can ask questions in the chat, and we'll get those answered. Let's keep it, questions to the artist, not me. And well, every once in a while, I get people asking me questions. I'm like, no, this is about the artist. So, but yeah, let's start off
What
by
kind of amp is that? You're like, thanks.
yeah. Um, so let's get started by you introducing yourself.
Yeah, hey. My name is Bill, and I play in this act, Slay Positive. It's basically a bass, keyboard, and drums, and we make just like I don't know, like crazy electro punk kind of music. Kind of like Nine Inch Nails meets maybe like the Dead Kennedys. Um, so like that kind of like industrial sound, maybe, but very like, kind of like fast and short, kind of hard hitting songs.
Awesome. Well, let's start off with this icebreaker question. What is your favorite all-time cover remake? So
Ooh,
something like um, where it's a cover by a popular.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good question. I'm sure a lot of people have said this, but I really like the Johnny Cash version of like "Hurt" by Nine Inch Nails. Um, I think that's really good, and I like how, I mean, it's a totally different instrumentation of it, but it really still captures the original essence of the song. And it's like instrumental, you wouldn't even know it's the same thing, but then when the lyrics hit, you're like, oh wow, this is that song, which I guess is a testament to the songwriting that it's so identifiable. But a lot of people have said that. Let me think of some other ones I like.
That's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a cool twist on that. And I mean, I like that. I like Nine Inch Nails. I mean, probably their discography, like, maybe more than Cash's. But yeah, that song, like, I really love Cash's version. And it's funny because, like I said, like, my music is it's a very industrial kind of like Nine Inch Nails. So I again testament to I guess Cash's work that you know when I'm so predisposed to the other genre that this totally different take on it, I'm still like infatuated with it. But let's see, another good cover I really like. Royal Blood does a good cover of "Sad but True" of the new Metallica. I think they called it like the Blacklist. It was like a whole album of covers, basically. So there's like four versions of like "Sad but True" on there, but I really like Royal Blood's version. They're also like another kind of just bass and drum band, and I like Metallica, but I was always sort of like, man, like you can never hear the bass in a Metallica song. So it was nice to hear, it like finally get to shine, but
Right.
and still appreciate the songwriting
Right.
structure.
Another one.
And I mean, Rage, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
I was gonna say another one Cash did that's really good is Rusty Cage.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
he had a real appreciation for like newer stuff, and covering up. That was cool. Like Rage Against the Machine, they did a whole cover album, right? That fourth one they did, and Renegades, I think it was called.
I didn't
And there's some
I
cool
didn't
tracks.
know that.
Oh yeah, check it out. Yeah, I want to say it was like 2000, and then they broke up like right after. Um, but it's like all covers, and it's interesting because they'll take like a Wu Tang song, or like a Cypress Hill song, and they'll make it like more rocky, But then they'll take like a folk song, like they got like Maggie's Farm, that Bob Dylan song,
Mhm.
and they have a version of that, but it's like the kind of like hip hop metal combo thing. So it's just I don't know, it's like a lot of different songs that I think all translate pretty well to their style.
Nice. Yeah, and Chris Cornell had a couple bangers too that were
Hmm.
that were. I mean, I guess I wouldn't call them bangers, but they were really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did Patience, and he did a Michael Jackson one too, right? He did with Billie Jean, I think.
Oh wow, yeah, he did, didn't he? Was it that one? Yeah.
I think so.
I saw Chris Cornell as a solo act at a festival. At Hangout Fest, it was like right on the beach. I remember. I think it was in like Gulf Shores, and he played an Audio Slave song that I really like, "Wide Awake." That's like all about like Hurricane Katrina, and I guess because he was like right on the Gulf, and it was like a different because it wasn't like with a full band. It was like him with an acoustic guitar, and I think at one point they had like a piano player or like a piano player backing track, but like it was a very sort of stripped down version of the song, and I mean, I was glad to hear it, because I always liked that track, and I didn't think even back then when that guy was alive, I was like, Audioslave is probably not going to get back together, so this will probably be my like chance to see it.
Cool. Yeah, I never got to see
Well,
him live. I missed that.
yeah,
Missed it.
yeah, he was good. I mean, I definitely would have preferred seeing like Soundgarden or Audioslave like with the full band, but even solo, he was pretty good.
Yeah,
Um,
I bet.
and standing up against like full band acts because it was a festival, so it's not like it was all singer songwriters.
Right. His voice is amazing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so where did your name come from?
Um, well, actually, I got the idea. I was playing Halo, and they had like some daily or weekly challenge or something, and it was called like Stay Positive, and basically, just get a positive, kill death ratio in a match.
Right.
And so, I'm loading into like a team deathmatch, and in Halo it's called Slayer, and they got the announcer. He comes and he's like Slayer, and I've got the Stay Positive in my head, and I'm like, they should have called it Slay Positive. That would have been like a funny pun. And then it started a beat, and I was like, hey, that'd be a good band name. And I was actually like thinking, I was like trying to think of a band name at the time, and
Right.
just completely unrelated to it. It just kind of came to me. I was like, that's pretty good actually. That's yeah.
That's funny. I was brainstorming like how did he come up with that name? I didn't even come close to it. How he came
Yeah.
up with
Well, I figured it worked because I'll hear like girls say like slay all the time. So it's already got this like connotation to it.
right.
Um, and then I like like wordplay and stuff. And I actually ended up writing a song with it too because I was like, why should I let a good saying go to waste on just a band name? I should get a song out of this too.
Right.
um, and it just seems like a nice like I don't know. I'm like a mantra about I don't know, staying positive, keeping your head up, stuff like that.
Right. Hey, if you have any questions, um, put them in the chat and we'll get those answered. There's quite a few people out here, so let's get that chat rolling. Um, so
Cheers.
how'd you get started creating music?
Oh man, I mean, I've been playing music for a long time. I think when I was like maybe like 10, I want to say I was definitely in elementary school. I came home and I asked my parents for a drum kit. And my birthday was coming up and they were like, "Well, we'll see what happens for your birthday." And my birthday came around and then they probably didn't want me to have a drum kit because it was loud, so they got me a bass guitar instead. And I just started playing from there. And yeah, it took me a couple years to get into it. As like a kid, it was still like even just getting my hands around the thing was kind of a challenge. But probably at like 13 or so, I started to actually like play a lot, or more, not
Right.
just for your lessons, and started really kind of appreciating it. And then I don't know, probably like 15, 16, joined a band. Actually, with Chris, the guy you interviewed from Red Eye, he and I were probably playing together, and like recording in like some guy's basement. And this was back when like recording like it was like whoa, like we're recording. Now it feels like oh yeah, I do that all the time, But like when I was 16, it was like oh dude, this like I'm like John Lennon right now recording in this guy's basement, And I had no context, But like I was like oh yeah. Um, so yeah, probably I've been putting out music. I mean, literally since I was a teenager.
Cool. That's awesome. So is that your main instrument is bass then, or
Yeah, it's definitely my main instrument. I've been learning. Well, I've been teaching myself drums. I got an e-kit. It's in the corner. Just for like recording purposes, basically. And then it was sort of like, maybe once every couple of months, I'd have like a drummer friend come over and, play on the track. And then I was sort of like, well, this is just sitting here. I might as well start playing on it and trying to learn it and everything.
Right.
And I've been having fun with that. And keyboards too, I've been learning as I've been playing in this band because I'm adding them in. I guess I did take piano lessons as a child, but I don't really remember much of it. I was sort of kind of coming from scratch, or not from scratch. I mean, I took like music theory in high school, so there was a little bit of piano involved with that. And then obviously, like I know a little bit of guitar from just playing bass. But I definitely bass is my most. That's what I want to get up and play in front of people.
Right.
I'll play anything recording wise where, Mr. Quantize can fix your mistakes.
That's
But
right.
but if I'm playing live, definitely I'd say bass.
Awesome. We have a question here from Priscilla. What venue is on your bucket list that you haven't played yet?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And it can be something that's let's change that to two different things. Your immediate, where would you want to play at, and your like dream.
Yeah. I mean, even yeah, even Mercedes Benz. Yeah, I was like, let me choose something a little bit more maybe attainable. I mean, I really like Variety Playhouse in Little Five Points, and I've seen like some cool acts there, and that would be like a neat place to play. Let me think what else. Actually, I don't think I played at the new Masquerade. I played at the old one, so that's probably a more achievable, goal. Um, but I mean, also like Tabernacle, although that's a pretty big venue. Also like Center Stage. Technically, I've played there on the little bar one, not the main one, but technicality. But I'll count it. Yeah, I'll say Variety Playhouse is my reach right now.
Okay. How about your dream venue?
um, I don't know. Honestly, probably something out of town would be cool. Nothing against Atlanta. I like Atlanta, but it'd be cool to be playing a similar sized venue like in another city where I don't know anybody.
Right.
So that'll be my far reaching goal.
Who were some of your biggest influences?
Um, well, I really like Beck. Not the Beck Hansen, not Jeff Beck, the one who just. I mean, Jeff Beck is good too,
Right.
R.I.P. But yeah, that not that one.
I know what you mean.
Um, yeah, yeah. I was like a kid, and my parents are both big music lovers, so they were always like, early 2000s. This was a CD at the time, but they were like, check out this new CD, look at this new thing. And I remember they put on Guero by Beck. That was like 2005, and I was just like, whoa, I didn't know you could make a record that sounded like this because it would just go from like a rock song to like a hip hop song to like a poppy folk song to like an electronic song. And I was like, this all sounds like any one of these could have been on some other album. You know what I mean? Of stuff just sounding totally like that. And here it's just like each one is it's like, it's just one song on this whole thing,
Right.
to like a blues song to a country song. And I was like, so and I like all of his records to varying degrees, but that one in particular, I really like for just the like sheer variety in the sound.
They had
Um,
their one song. It was "I'm a Loser," right?
yeah, that was like the hit.
Yeah, yeah. That was. I just remember being in high school. I'm going to date myself here, but
Mhm.
back in like '94, and we're going to the beach and playing that song. We're all you know singing to it as loud as we can in the car.
Mhm.
It was great, great memory.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great song. Yeah, I've seen him live a couple times, and that was always a good experience. Let's see, who else do I like? Um, I mean, I like this was for influence, right? Not just like, right? Or what was the question?
It was your influence, your biggest influences.
Influence, right? Yeah, I mean, definitely.
What influences your music, I guess.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, definitely, I like the sort of variety of like kind of genres you'll hear from like someone like Beck. So I like to do stuff like that, where this song might sound more rock, this song might sound more, electronic, this one might sound more whatever. Um, who else? I really like Royal Blood. I guess I already mentioned them on the cover, but they were like a band I got into a couple years ago, probably around when their second album was out. And I just remember being like really impressed. I was like, oh wow, like you can have this full sound with just these two guys, and it's not even a guitar; it's like a bass. And so that was probably like influential in terms of like until then, I probably like I knew like two pieces exist, like the White Stripes, where you've got a guitar player that's making himself sound lower. But it never occurred to me. I was like, wow, you could do that with a bass too, and just make it sound higher. Um,
Yeah,
and so they're yeah, so they're and the great band too. And then funny enough, actually, after I started this band, in my mind, I was like, all right, who else is doing something like this? I mean, there's Royal Blood, and there's this UK band, Slaves, that I like. That's also a two piece, but they're only sort of doing it because their guy, he sometimes plays bass, sometimes plays guitar. It's mostly guitar, a couple songs on bass. And I was like, all right, so a little bit like that. And then just kind of, I forget how, but I ended up discovering Death from Above, 1979, who were like apparently doing this like just bass and drums, although they had synth too. They had synth from the start, I think.
right.
But they were doing like that sort of rock music with no guitars like 10 years before Royal Blood was. And I just hadn't heard of them. And then I started listening to their stuff and I was like, oh, these guys are awesome too. Um, so now I'm into them, which, is good. I'm glad that I'm not at a point where I'm still finding acts I've never heard of before. And I'm like, oh, these guys are great. And then they make it into my rotation. I'm not at that. I'm not at an age or whatever. I'm still just now. It's like I got the stuff I like, and I just listen to that.
Right. And you'll find
Um,
that as you get older, like, you start gravitating back to what you listened to in high school and
yeah,
it's just one of those, they did a whole kinda study thing on that where your brain, like, kinda stops. I don't know,
yeah. I've heard of stuff
you
like
know what I'm talking about, though. But,
Yeah,
and, people are like, "Oh, the music's getting so bad." It wasn't It's not the music that's getting bad, it's just what you're used to, and
yeah.
your
It's just your
brain
taste.
it's just yeah, exactly. But I'm always trying to listen to newer stuff and especially with the local bands, so,
Mhm.
um, well, we're about to play your new single. You wanna talk about it a little bit before we play it?
Yeah, sure. Actually, funny enough, this was probably one of the first tracks I sent to Chris, my buddy who produces me, and it was along like a batch of like a couple, like probably like 4 or 5 songs that I had, like, I mean, demos on GarageBand. They were rough, and I sent it to him. But this one, he really like signaled out and was like, "This is great. You really gotta like put you. We want to work on this." And I'm now probably like a year ago, roughly, that I sent him that first batch of demos, and we were working on this for a while, and we just kept having problems with it. I think because it's so weird compared to a lot of the other stuff I had, even on that first like kind of collection of demos, it was like the weirdest one. But I mean, it really just stuck out to him, and so we had to do all this stuff. We had to re-record it because I played it so many times trying to get a good take that I'd knock my bass out of tune. It's like, so nothing's gonna sound right. You just have to redo it. And then I basically had to like teach myself it because I actually played it on a fluke. Because originally, the strumming pattern was a lot more straightforward. And it was something sort of like more like "Fell in Love with a Girl," that White Stripes song,
Right.
da 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 da, right? Just very kind of like. And I kept kind of, I would get off, I'd play it wrong because it's fast, and I hit record, and I came in, I did the mutes, and I realized I'm like half a beat off, maybe, and I'm like, let me just get through it, and I'll stop and I'll listen to it. And so I go back and I listen to it, and that half a beat off, it just sounded great. I was like, whoa, like this is really cool. And I was like, well, let me try to re-record and get a better take. And then I couldn't do that same pattern. It was just a fluke. So I was like, shit, I kept like undoing. I'm like, save that, save that. And then I essentially had to like teach myself it off the recording. I'm like listening to the recording. I'm like trying to, there was like a whole like a month where I was like, I couldn't even play this song without the recording going.
Right.
And I was like, this is too good to not. And I've had times like that where like I'm not even recording. I'm just messing around. And I play. And I'm like, it's really good. I should remember that. and then I don't remember it. And then I'm like, what? The next time I'm there, I'm like, wow, what was that? And I'm playing it, I'm like, it's the right notes, but it doesn't sound right, and I don't have anything to reference. And I finally, I was like, I got to save this reference until I really have it down. Um, so yeah, it took. I mean, literally, that we finished two other songs that we were like, we'd work on this for like an hour and get tired. I'm like, let's work on this other song. And we work on it for like 20 minutes and then make excuse me, way more progress. So I'm like, well, these songs, let's just put them out while we work on this. But yeah, there was a lot of back and forth on this song. This song took a while to put together.
So you played bass on it, and then
Mhm.
is all the other instrument, are they MIDI or are they all real instrument?
I mean, they're MIDI. Like I played the keys. Well, actually, Chris and I split the duty. Usually, I more or less do everything, and then send it to him. And if he hears something, I let him punch it up. But on this one, I actually like kind of brought him in, actually over to my home studio, and he sang a little backup. You can hear him in the chorus, and I had him play. I had like the keys going. I had him just essentially just ones, just like a single note matching whatever I was playing. And I was like, I like that for this kind of, very synthy lead, but let's get like some full chords going on the Wurlitzer, the more piano sounding one. And so he played that, and then I had this bridge in it where I knew I wanted like a keyboard solo. I played a couple of different things. Nothing was really catching my eye, and I kind of just like sat down in front of the keyboard, and I was like, I want something here, but I don't know what. Other than I want a little bit more space, and it builds into something.
Right.
And he was like, all right, and he played something. I made a new track. He played another one. He played like 10 different solos essentially. And then from those, I was like, all right, I like that part. I like that part. And I'm like taking them and putting them together into the solo that you hear in the song. So there was like, I mean, there's a ton of stuff that just went unused essentially.
Right. Scott's here. Yay. Ask Slay Positive your questions here in the chat window and we'll get those answered. Scott's our moderator.
Hello, Scott.
He was a little late today, but I'm glad he was able to hang out with us.
Right. We've all been there.
All right, let's play this song. I'm going to mute you and then we're going to play it.
Down in the lab, I'm going insane. Making my plans, I'm making my name. Building machines that'll make me fly. Covered in chrome, I've lost my mind. I won't stop until they see the evil genius with the harmony. With my brains and this steel, I'll conquer you by next year. Mechanical funk has got me down in a rut. Mechanical funk has got me down. Now I'm stuck. Weeks have passed, seasons have changed. I wouldn't know it's all the same. Deep underground, in my cave, robots toil and slave away. Nuclear power that's supercharged. I do a volt just to get me hard. Time has come, army of mass. Gears have turned, I'm turning back. Mechanical funk has got me down. Mechanical funk has got me down. Now I'm stuck. Mechanical funk has got me down. Mechanical funk has got me down. In the muck. has got me down. Mechanical funk has got me down. Now I'm stuck. Mechanical funk has got me down. Mechanical funk has got me down. In the muck. Mechanical funk has got me down. Mechanical funk has got me down. Now I'm stuck. Mechanical funk has got me down. Mechanical funk has got me down. And now I'm fucked.
Awesome. Uh,
What are the
I gotta get faster at my clicks.
yeah? What do the bands usually do when you're playing their song? Like, do they just sit there? Do they? Part of me, when I saw it on the thing, I was just like, "Ooh, I'm not supposed to listen to my own song." Like, sometimes I get in my head about that, but I was like, I'll just bob my head. Like, at least it's only 3 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
You're interviewing a jam band, you know. We're all just sitting there in silence as they noodle for 7 minutes or whatever.
About the same thing. We usually bob our head, but I've gotten to where
Yeah.
now, I'll put it to where it's just the screen, and then you can go
Mhm.
and do whatever you got to do. And I should have warned you, like, hey, this time you can go to the bathroom or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminded me when you're talking about that. Like, there's that meme where it's like Slash is soloing, and it's
Mhm.
Richard Fortus and Axl Rose, and they're both just like staring at him, not playing,
Mhm.
like having their hands on their shoulders, just watching them. Then finally, yeah,
Yeah.
then finally, like Slash comes out of his coma and gets done, and I kind of looks at him like, "Oh, okay," and you're like, they
Mhm.
go back to normal. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Um, so the words and stuff, where'd that come from?
Um. Yeah. I don't know. I I swear sometimes I'll be like writing a song and I'll be like, I swear I was like thinking this up when I was like 12 years old or something. Like not the whole thing, but like one line that I'll just like I'll say that. And I'm like, did I just come up with that, or did I like think of that like 10 years ago and just like I thought I forgot it, and now like it's like a weird deja vu. This song is almost like that. It almost feels like something that I remember thinking about like when I was younger, like a song from like the perspective of like a mad scientist or something. Um, but I mean that's essentially what it's about. Like it's a fictional, kind of setting, but it's like you ever think about I think about this sometimes where you've got your evil genius in a story, and he spends all this time, making his robot army and making his plans for conquering the world, and then it all just gets spoiled by like I don't know, a hedgehog that jumps on things or whatever. And it's like that's a lot of hard work down the drain. I wonder how that guy feels, getting foiled every time. That must be hard. And so I thought it'd be funny, but and it's a fictional kind of setting, but I think it's talking about feelings of, inadequacy or like imposter syndrome, and it's stuff that I think normal people, you don't have to be an evil genius to relate to it.
Right.
You can be a regular genius.
Let's talk about your writing process a little bit. Do you typically come up with your audio first or your lyrics first, or
Generally, yeah, it's the music first. I mean, I'll get an idea for a song and like lyrics, and I'll write out like a whole like poem essentially. But then I always have trouble writing music to it,
Mhm.
and I find I have a lot more success with my songs when I figure out what the riff is and then write the lyrics to that. And I want to get better because I've got lyrics that I like that I'm like, I don't know when, I'm just going to randomly play a riff and I'm like, oh, these can go on them. And I'm not going to have to, start writing fresh. But yeah, generally it's the music first. That's what happened with this anyway, and most of the songs.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty typical. I mean, not everybody can be like, Elton John, where somebody writes the music for him. Gives him, like, the sheet of paper with all these lyrics, and all of a sudden he just comes up with a
Hmm.
song from it, it's I don't think
Yeah,
anybody can do that.
that's impressive. Hopefully, I'll get there someday.
Um, so what do you have in the future? What are your future goals?
Um, well, I'm definitely gonna keep releasing tracks. I'd say about, I mean, counting these three that I've already put out, I'd say I have about like 10 songs that are like ready to go more or less, just waiting on Chris to have time and get to. And not, we have one that's almost done. I'm probably waiting on the last. Like I got a mix that it's like you record, you understand. It's like 90. It's essentially done. It sounds great. It's like 90% of the way there, and then you end up only focusing on the 10%. Like this lyric sounded weird. I need you to trim it. This sounded off. Even though it's like no normal person is going to hear that. They would just hear a completed song.
Right.
So it's we're at that stage with the next song. So it should be ready soon. And I mean, yeah. So I'll definitely keep putting stuff out. Probably keep doing videos too. I like to do video stuff for the songs. And I mean, I'm looking for full time, like a drummer or keyboardist, anyone that's looking for a steady, band to rehearse and play gigs with. Um, so far, I've just been doing like whenever a gig comes up, I kind of like recruit, put together a short term thing just for that. Um, Chris actually, he played keys with me on, excuse me, Mexican food. Chris played keys with me or in on a show, and my buddy Skylar played drums. But he plays in like three other bands, and basically just he's like, I mean, I'm happy to do this gig, but I don't have time for a full time like commitment, which understandable if you're already in a bunch of other bands.
Right.
And then Chris, he's not even a key player. That was like his first. I mean, he knows it from like doing so much production, and then he knows the songs because he's heard them a bunch. But he's a guitar player, so I was like, "Hey, you want to come like play keys with me?" And he's like, "I've never done that before." And I was like, "I mean, you already know these songs, and
Right.
you already know the notes on the keyboard. It is." So I know he did a good job. But I am, yeah, definitely. So yeah, if there's any drummers or synth players out there that like these songs and want a permanent spot,
Right.
feel free to hit me up.
Did you play at that house party with them? That was a couple months.
Uh, we played at Heck House. I don't know if that was the house. It's a it has house in the name. I guess technically it's a venue. Um, but yeah, it was like us, them, and then there was like a solo act, like an acoustic guitar. Evan, blanking something with a V. Evan V.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the one you're talking about or
Oh,
not. I know those guys gig a lot, so I don't
thought it
know.
was a house party. It was actually a venue that has house in the name of it.
Yeah, Heck House.
Yeah.
I mean, it is literally like a house in a residential neighborhood, but they've got a stage and everything built. It's like a little outdoor thing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, shout out to them. Actually, we played the day they lost like some sort of licensing thing, so they couldn't sell tickets. So Chris was like talking. He's like, "Oh, this would be a great show, dude. Like, they're a nonprofit, so the bands get all the money. So we're gonna make some good money." And then the day before, he's like, actually, they can't legally sell any tickets, so we're gonna play for free." And I was like, "All right, sounds about." But it's like it was like the first show. I was like, I'll take anything. It's my first show, so what are you gonna do? As this act,
Right. Cool. Well, you want there anything else you want to shout out or anything?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel, Slay Positive Music. That's also the Instagram handle, Facebook. But the YouTube has got good stuff. Like I said, I like to do videos for like all my songs because I do singles. So I like to I'll put a song out, like a music video. I'll let a month or two on the long end, I like to say maybe 3 months go by, and then I'll put out something else. So instead of just doing one big thing at a time, it's like every month or two, like check back, or better yet, subscribe, and you can see a new music video. And I'm also trying to start up actually an interview series, kind of like this type of interviews, but like bad, like ironic interviews for like to be funny, sort of like like Between Two Ferns, Norm Macdonald show, Eric Andre, something like that. But not as high budget as Eric Andre. I don't got that Adult Swim money. Um, but I have one. It's called Slade, and it's on my YouTube channel. I got one with this guy, Aaron Reynolds, solo act. He put out an EP through. I'm trying to be good here because I roast everybody in interviews and still promote their shit. He released an EP, I think through the Karin Collective, I want to say was the name. And I just saw him randomly like posting in like a Facebook group, like, I'm putting out this EP. Does anybody have any leads on like promotion? And I was like, oh, I'm trying to do this thing, like, come to my house and we'll film it and I'll put it up for free, And but yeah, he was a good sport. But yeah, check those out. And any bands who listen to this too and want more, preferably ones who have a good sense of humor, um, hit me up, on social media, and we can put together an interview.
Yeah, I definitely have to check that out. Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. So
Yeah,
yeah, and I'll put links down in the description. I think I put one link, but I need to put all the other links. I just got a little busy this week. But I will definitely tonight or tomorrow. I will put links down in the description for your Spotify and so you got Spotify, Instagram,
yeah,
YouTube. You have a website?
yeah. No, I don't have a website. I'd say mostly Instagram and YouTube. I have a Facebook, but I don't know. Facebook's kind of like, it seems to be on life support from as far as I can tell, compared to something like Instagram or TikTok. So I don't really. I post whatever my most recent thing is up there. It's good for sharing links, I suppose, direct links.
Yeah,
Um,
I have a Facebook for picks and sticks, and I do my weekly music pick. And I always have to put it on. I put it on Facebook, and then I go and put it on Spotify. And so annoying putting it on Facebook because nobody sees it. It's like I don't know why.
yeah, look,
I'm probably just going to stop putting it there. But
uh, yeah. I mean, I still share my stuff because I'm like, I guess I'll just do it there. But it's like I'll put some on Instagram. It'll be like, like my friends will see it. A bunch of local bands will see it. Other musicians I know. Maybe even if I have any of those normies who like listen to my music. And then I'll put it on like Facebook, and like my dad will see it. It'll be like one person, and it's like someone whose probably cell phone number I have. I could have sent them that a DM. I didn't even need to put it on Facebook for them to see that. Um, so yeah, definitely Instagram and YouTube, I would say, are the two things I kind of put the most time. I feel like a little. I don't really even look at like the other streaming services that much. I mean, I put all my stuff on there because I just anywhere you listen to your stuff, I want you to be able to find it. But I do all these videos, so I'm sort of like, I mean, I kind of rather you. It'd be better for the people to be watching it on YouTube anyway and seeing the video than just hearing the audio.
right.
Uh, but yeah, that. Oh, and I'll say my buddy Chris, who he does all the production on me on Slay Positive Music, and you had him on for Red Eye Orchestra. He produces them too. He just got an Instagram for his. We were talking about this before the thing started, but he got an Instagram for his studio or production services, Orange Ghost Productions. So they're cool too. If anybody, it's not like a studio like what you got where you could like go to his place and record. But if you've already got your recordings done and you're just looking for someone to send, mix and master, he's great about that.
Well, I have nothing right now. It's gutted.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's what I was working on all day today. Now I'm wiped out, and as soon as
Yeah.
I get off this, I'm gonna go crash. But
Yeah.
at least I got some good progress done today, and hopefully I can get a couple shorts out on on YouTube, showing
Mhm.
the progress. But
Yeah. Yeah, people like that like DIY, the construction of the studio.
yeah, I just didn't. It's so hard to like just have it sitting there recording for hours, and you know how much like
Mhm.
memory that takes, and like wait.
Yeah, and for what's gonna be like 20 seconds,
Yeah.
you know? For
So
sure, yeah.
I did a couple quick little things. I'm going to do a short this time instead of a whole episode. But
Mhm.
anyway, I really appreciate you being on here, and
Hey, thank you, yeah.
I wish you luck on this, and keep you know keep in contact with me, and I want to see other singles that you release and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
if you have any anytime you're going to play uh in the near future, let us know, and I'll you know share that as well. So
Hey, thanks. Yeah, great. Appreciate it. Thanks for the interview. I've done, a lot of when you're an artist kind of at this level, very kind of like small and local, a lot of the, interviews you get are like someone sends you a worksheet to fill out and then they're going to like use maybe like a sentence from that, so I appreciate actually like having like, face to face pseudo, it's, it feels more human than like taking home homework to do, so I appreciate that. And like I said, any of you or anyone you interview wants, more promotion and likes, comedy stuff, for sure, hit me up. I'll do an interview, you know,
cool.
with them. And that does, we were talking about this off before we started, but you were saying that you like doing them live to not have to do any editing. And I record them and then I go in and I edit them afterwards, for comedic purposes to get like funny cuts and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, we'll take like, usually like 20-minute interview and kind of cut it down to like 4 or 5 minutes, something a little more digestible. And, all the funny bits basically. I cut all the jokes that didn't land.
Right. Right.
And for, in for anyone listening, when the interview is over, I say if there's any jokes in here you didn't like or you would not want put out, you let me know. I'll leave it on the cutting room floor. It's no problem.
Right. No, that's
So
awesome.
yeah. So
And
if you're nervous, don't worry. You still get a chance to say don't do that joke.
yeah, I mean, I did a podcast with the Georgia Songbirds, and
Mhm.
I hope I said that right. But anyway, I did a podcast with them, and I was at his house, and it wasn't live, and I was like, "Can we take that out? Can we take that out?" Yeah, like, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. But the only reason I do
From
it,
then on,
I
from
do
then on, it
this.
was like, all right, we're doing live, and whatever you said about whatever group, that has to be out there. Right? There's nothing. Sorry, you had your chance.
No, I mean, I always, like I
You
said,
had your chance to not put with Kanye West.
I can always cut stuff. I just can't add stuff. But
Sure, that's right. Yeah, you were saying.
and the other reason I do it this format is it's just so hard to get somebody to come to your house and do an interview versus
Yeah,
just, hey, let's get on, do a Zoom call real quick, or
sure. No, I feel you. Yeah.
StreamYard. So
Yeah.
anyway, all right, man, I appreciate it, and thank you for being on here, and everybody, thank you for watching, and go straight home.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. I'm gonna go home. Well, I am home, but I'll log off and